Death to Pakistan, they chant at a rally in Delhi. This organised by supporters of the opposition. The brutality of the attack in Kashmir, for now, uniting much of this nation. The killing of 26 people at a picturesque tourist spot was the deadliest in years. The region has been home to a long-running insurgency and harsh military crackdown. But more recently, the level of violence had decreased. Today, security forces demolished a house in Indian-administered Kashmir they said belonged to a local man involved in the attack. But Indian officials allege other gunmen were Pakistani and were backed by the country's murky intelligence services. Pakistan denies involvement, and there have been protests here too. This an angry reaction to India's suspension of a key treaty sharing water between the countries. In Islamabad today, at the Pakistani parliament, politicians insisted they don't want a fresh conflict with India, but also said they won't back away from one either.
Is Pakistan on a war footing? Are you expecting an attack, a military attack imminent?
We are fully prepared. Our preparedness is at the maximum. If there is any incursion or any temptation on Indian side to attack Pakistan or launch some sort of strike, we'll respond to that, inshallah, with full force.
For many decades, Pakistan did actively sponsor militants in Kashmir. India has already alleged that you were involved in this attack too, and many people around the world will think that that is credible.
We have never sponsored any sort of, they were homegrown movements. The line of control is absolutely foolproof. There is no border crossing or line of control crossing over the last many decades.
They say that you never crack down on militants.
They can say whatever they say.
Hafiz Saeed is in the house arrest.
These people are part of our past, and these people are there because we were part of the so-called jihad, so-called jihad in Afghanistan in the 80s and then later on early this century.
But also because Pakistan felt that it could use proxy forces in Afghanistan and in Kashmir as a foreign policy.
I don't consider it fit to be, responded.
More news from Kashmir, a once peaceful mountain state.
Conflict over Kashmir dates back to India and Pakistan's independence. The countries have repeatedly gone to war over the disputed region, which is split between the two sides. This was the last major flare-up. 6 years ago, another militant attack in Kashmir targeting Indian troops. Again, India blamed Pakistan, launching its first airstrike into Pakistani territory in around 50 years. Pakistan responded, shooting down an Indian plane, then releasing the pilot, bringing an end to a dangerous cycle of tit-for-tat violence.
I want that wall to be shown because that wall is a picture.
Now, anger in India is even higher.
I want all the Pakistanis watching to see this.
Fueled by right-wing journalists and Prime Minister Modi's aggressive Hindu nationalism.
Home Minister Amit Shah visited the spot where
as well as by the gruesome nature of the militant attack. At the only border crossing between India and Pakistan, visiting nationals from both countries returning home after being ordered out. These nations, tied together by so much, are again dangerously divided.
Well, India's suspension of the water-sharing treaty, which has survived 2 wars between the two countries, could be a major blow for Pakistan. India and Pakistan signed the treaty in 1960, allowing them to share 6 rivers in the Indus Basin. The agreement lets India use the 3 eastern rivers, 2 of which flow into Pakistan, which was granted use of most of the 3 western rivers. The suspension could devastate Pakistan, as 80% of its agriculture relies on water from the Indus Basin. Well, earlier I spoke to Barkha Dutt, one of India's best-known broadcast journalists, and I began by asking how suspending the water treaty gives India the retaliation it wants.
I cannot overemphasize enough the significance of the move by India to suspend the Indus Water Treaty, which is basically a water sharing agreement that has actually withstood otherwise the test of time, even through the worst phases between India and Pakistan. But what has happened in Kashmir after this terror attack is perceived in India across political and ideological affiliations as an act of war by Pakistan-backed terror groups. And therefore, there is widespread public support for the decision by the government to suspend this water treaty, which basically will look to control the flow of waters into Pakistan. The reason this has never been done before is because the working argument used to be that while the Pakistan state and the military is seen to be an adversary by India, the people of Pakistan are not. However, a thick red line has been crossed this time.
Now, for that treaty to bite is going to take some time. India would have to take, big infrastructure action to divert water. Is there yet more public demand for immediate military action?
There is certainly public demand for a whole host of retaliatory permanent measures. Is there an expectation that there will be retaliation, including a military measure? I would say very much so. What shape and form, what time, what will this be covert? Will this be overt? When will it happen? Nobody knows and nobody should know.
If India, is prepared to uphold the suspension of the water treaty, effectively cut Pakistan off, it's going to starve people. That's going to be the real impact of this in Pakistan. Is India really prepared to risk being on the wrong side of world opinion in how it responds to this?
I do not believe that India thinks it is on the wrong side of world opinion. I think there is a belief in India that the world understands that Pakistan has long used terrorism as an instrument of state policy. I think there is appreciation for the fact that India has repeatedly, in the face of provocative terror attacks, shown utmost restraint, quite unlike Western powers. In many ways, this is being compared to October 7th. And this is India's own sort of inflection point. And there is a sense that something has to be done that makes a break from the past. And in the past, no military response by India, quite unlike Western powers, for example, who describe the loss of civilian lives as collateral damage, no military response by India has ever targeted the people of Pakistan. And I'm not saying that that's what the government or India wants to do, but I am saying that that cannot be, at this moment, I'm afraid, the paramount concern. The paramount priority for India has to be to safeguard its own people. And I think what India is saying to the world right now is that we have shown enough restraint. We're on the right side of the moral argument here, and we need to safeguard our own people. And I think whatever India does, that will be the motivation, that will be the priority.
Barkhad, thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishna, for having me.